Discover the incredible transformation. How I sold my daughter-in-law's home after being mocked. Martha's heart raced as she stood in the kitchen of her family home, the walls echoing memories of laughter, warmth, and the love of her late husband. Emma's laughter, however, sliced through the nostalgia like a knife. She could still hear it, dripping with mockery, as her daughter-in-law had dismissed her modest career in real estate. "Really, Martha? You think you can handle this?" Emma had said, eyes sparkling with condescension. That moment felt heavier than any burden she had carried before, a snare tightening around her chest. Years of sacrifice loomed large, filling the space around Martha like heavy smoke. After single-handedly raising her children, sacrificing her career, and losing her husband, this home represented her legacy, everything she had ever built and held dear. The thought of Emma selling the house, rendered into a mere transaction to fund her own aspirations, sent waves of anger crashing down on Martha. Wasn't it enough to build a future without desecrating the past? All the while, doubt wormed its way into Martha's mind, prodding her insecurities, and she felt impossibly small. As days turned into weeks, memories haunted her. The time spent in the garden with her husband, the winter holidays filled with family traditions, all under one roof painted in the warm hues of connection. Yet precision and clarity eluded her while she wrestled with an unsettling fear. Was she reduced to a glorified sentimentalist in Emma's eyes? The stakes rose with each petty swipe, revealing insecurities she thought were buried long ago. Martha felt her blood boil, her pulse quickening whenever she thought of Emma's relentless ambition that trifled with her own personal value. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Martha's world narrowed as she grappled with a fierce resolve. She could sell the house on her own terms. It wasn't just a roof anymore. It was her strength, her voice. Negotiation was an art she had mastered years ago, and perhaps it was time to reclaim what had become a symbol of her defeat. Yet, the thought of Emma catching wind of it electrified her, sending shivers down her spine. What if she failed? What if this ambition turned out to be another illusion? Days turned into sleepless nights where her mind spiraled deeper into anxiety and contemplation. The idea of confrontation began to look inevitable, and as Martha prepared herself, she wondered what would become of the fragile bond left between them. Could negotiating a sale break her heart while trying to mend it? The thought gripped her. Pain twisted in her stomach, battling her spirit as she sat at the kitchen table that had been sun-kissed, stained by time. As the moments slipped away, Martha felt that she was tiptoeing along a cliff. Her thoughts echoed incessantly. Would the deal grant her independence or strip her of the last threads of family that tied her to her husband? The emotions ebbed and flowed like a ferocious tide, each wave threatening to pull her under. She was about to make a choice that might either elevate or destroy her, all while Emma loomed like a specter over her decisions. But within the throbbing chaos surged an unexpected resilience, a burning ember waiting to ignite. Would she push forward into the unknown, ready to sell the family home, or guard the pieces of her heart and hold on to the past? The answer hung in the air, a precarious moment that promised the cliff was only just the beginning. Martha awoke to the soft light filtering through the kitchen window, illuminating the very walls that had, for so long, been her sanctuary. Each beam struck like a whisper, reminding her of the decisions yet to be made. Today felt different. The familiar grasp of fear lingered, but a newfound flame ignited with every thought of reclaiming her agency. Retail therapy had always filled the void when Martha felt overwhelmed, but now, as she slipped on her favorite pair of heels, the old habits no longer offered solace. They felt more like shackles. She decided instead to arm herself with the knowledge she had gained over the years in real estate. Immediate visions of inquiries and listings coursing through her mind filled the void, pushing back against Emma's derision. But this time she wouldn't approach the market with the nervous trepidation of someone uncertain. Her intent bore the weight of passionate purpose. Sitting at the kitchen table, she meticulously crafted a plan. She scoured her approach to presenting the house an inviting atmosphere that would unveil its story without the harsh lens of commercialism. Determined, she plotted out every open house detail, from the scent of freshly baked cookies to the arrangement of heirlooms that each held a cherished memory. This would not be a mere display. It would be a celebration of her family's journey. Her phone buzzed, and a sudden pang of anxiety surged, knowing it was Emma. What did she want? Instead of flipping the phone face down, she opened the message, reading Emma's query about the state of the house for a prospective buyer. Each word was a jab at her lingering uncertainty, but with every tap on the screen as she composed her response, a deeper conviction nestled into her mind. Not this time. Still deciding, she typed back, careful to maintain a facade but drawing strength from the notion that her indecision was merely a stepping stone. The response felt powerful, even as it churned up a whirlpool of conflict within her. Yes, it was true she was deciding, not so much about selling but about when and how to emerge as a force of her own. Martha pulled up her browser and began searching for real estate courses, something she'd never considered before. Long gone were the days of assuming someone else had the upper hand. This was her chance to better herself, harnessing skills that had lain dormant for too long. The thought provided a jolt of adrenaline, pushing against her hesitation. In the following hours, she enrolled in online courses to sharpen her skills, absorbing information with fervor, her fingertips dancing over the keyboard like a maestro orchestrating a symphony. She reveled in the thrill of learning, her heart racing with every new strategy she absorbed, each negotiation tactic fueling her tenacity. The journey to empowerment had begun, and the echo of Emma's laughter faded further into the background. Weeks passed in an intoxicating blur. Each lesson, each practice session, fortified Martha's foundation with new confidence. She envisioned herself not as someone relegated to the edges of her family's narrative, but as a pivotal character, illuminating the strength that pulsed beneath her surface. Yet, the specter of confrontation remained at the edge of her consciousness, signaling its impending arrival. The day of the open house was drawing near, each detail finalized, and she felt a hot thrill of anticipation mingling with external pressure. Would Emma attend and witness Martha's newfound purpose? Every imagined encounter churned her stomach, igniting old fears. Could she stand her ground against the judgment and reclaim her home? The clock struck noon and Martha took a deep breath, arms crossed as she paced the living room. The moment of truth had arrived. The doorbell rang, a jarring sound shattering her conviction. As she headed towards the door, a rush of uncertainty coursed through her veins. Would this day mark not just the sale of her home but the forging of a new identity? Fear wavered, but resilience surged as she grasped the doorknob with both determination and dread. What awaited her on the other side? This would be the day to face Emma and challenge everything she had let slide for too long. Would it be the end of Martha as she once knew herself, or the beginning of a new era? Martha inhaled deeply, steadying her nerves as she turned the doorknob. The moment the door swung open, she was met by the cool gaze of Emma, impeccably dressed and armed with the sharp allure of confidence that had always irked Martha. The air was thick with unsaid words, and as they stood across from each other, a realm of past grievances bubbled just beneath the surface. "Hello, Martha. Looks like you're really going through with this," Emma remarked, her tone laced with mock surprise. Martha swallowed the bitterness that rose in her throat. "I am. It's my house after all," she replied, unshaken by the familiar condescension. Each syllable released pent-up energy, a visceral reminder that she no longer had to cower beneath the shadow of others' expectations. Emma stepped inside, taking stock of the carefully curated ambience that Martha had orchestrated. The aroma of warm caramelized cinnamon wafted through the air, enticing and welcoming. This wasn't just selling a house. It was about presenting a home filled with history, love, and the strength of its owner. She felt herself recentering, the knowledge she had gleaned from her recent studies empowering her demeanor. "So what's your game plan? An emotional sell?" Emma smirked, folding her arms. "You know the buyers are looking for a deal, right?" Martha studied her. The insinuation aimed at her heart painted first with doubt but now shifted into a playful banter with herself. "Maybe they're looking for a story. What story does it tell?" Emma shot back. "The story of a woman who couldn't even manage her real estate?" Martha felt the sting of that jab, but beneath it flourished a stronger sensation. She sensed a current of strength pooling within her, urging her forward. Instead of dodging Emma's barb, she squared her shoulders and stood her ground. The story of resilience and growth, actually. A woman reclaiming her voice after being silenced for too long. The silence hung between them, thick and palpable. Emma's expression shifted slightly, flashing a hint of surprise. For the first time, Martha saw a flicker of something akin to respect creep onto her face. Perhaps even the faintest crack in the wall Emma had built around herself. Speaking of stories, have you seen the property listings? Emma diverted, desperate to regain control. The market is tough, you know. Yes, that's why I've done my homework. I've learned negotiation tactics, staging strategies, and effective marketing. Each point landed with purpose, boxing Emma into a corner of her own making. It's time I provide value on my terms. Emma took a deliberate step back, caught off guard by Martha's sudden poise. Look, I didn't mean to undermine you, she started, though Martha knew better than to believe it completely. Navigating through an unpredictable terrain of confrontation, she took a breath, consideration sparking in her mind. Maybe you did. But it doesn't matter now, Martha asserted, diffusing the tension with surprising grace. She felt the urge to detail her recent discoveries and ambitions but swallowed that verbal urge. This moment was about standing resolute, not proving her growth to Emma. Now filled with an unfamiliar calm, she gestured toward the backyard. Shall we begin the tour? They stepped outside and Martha led Emma through the gardens, the vibrant colors of bloom speaking volumes of hope and rebirth. With each step, she felt a deeper connection to her home, her past, and the woman she was becoming as they walked. The house remained a dormant witness to their history. The moment of truth was closing in how the buyers would respond, how her confrontation with Emma would influence her future. But today wasn't solely about the sale. For the first time, it was about Martha regaining possession of her narrative. Stepping into the sun-drenched living room, a thought sparked unbidden. What if not launching into the professional world transformed her conception of success? The realization struck she needed to confront her deeper ambitions, beyond property values and negotiations. With that self-discovery simmering, Martha turned to Emma. You know, this isn't just about selling a house. It's about freedom to define my pathway. Suddenly, she was met with Emma's penetrating gaze. Would she understand? Or would their relationship fracture further? The tension between them thickened again as Martha braced for Emma's response, her heart racing with the uncertainty of what that answer might bring. Would she challenge Martha's newfound strength or recognize the journey she was embarking upon? Martha stood firm, heart racing as Emma's gaze held her captive. The unspoken challenge in the air tightened around them, thick with anticipation. What would Emma say? Just moments ago, it felt like their relationship had teetered on the precipice of something profound. But with every second passing, was it slipping back to the status quo? Emma's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of disdain battling with surprise. Your pathway? You mean the one leading you to a dead end like this listing? Martha resisted the urge to flinch, to retreat into defensiveness. Instead, she pressed forward, an unfamiliar resolve igniting within her. No, Emma. This isn't a dead end. This is a new beginning. The moment lingered, electric. To her astonishment, she no longer craved Emma's approval. If anything, she desired only to prove her self-worth to herself, to be the architect of her future, unfiltered and unyielding. Before Emma could interject, Martha took a breath, threading her newfound determination into her words. You think this is about the market? The sale? It's about something deeper. She gestured animatedly, mapping out her visions in the air. This home is a testament to my journey. It represents the woman I've fought to become, a woman who has learned to sculpt her own narrative, rather than allowing it to be dictated by someone else's expectations. Emma moved closer, shock flickering in her eyes, yet still tinged with skepticism. You think you can change the game? The buyers are savvy, Martha. They won't just buy into your story. Maybe you're right, Martha replied, her voice steady and calm. But perhaps they will connect with authenticity. I'm not selling a pristine facade. I'm inviting them into my life, my memories, and my motivations. Authenticity has power. Emma's defenses seemed to soften momentarily, revealing a vulnerability that Martha had long suspected existed beneath the surface. Could it be that Emma herself had known the burden of expectations? That she too was entangled in a quest for recognition? Each second felt loaded. Martha pushed forward, emboldened. I'm done being a pawn in this game. I've learned to negotiate, to articulate my worth, and to embrace my vulnerability. That's power, isn't it? You might be right, Emma conceded slowly, her bravado wavering as she stepped back and crossed her arms again. But vulnerability can be a double-edged sword in this business. Maybe, Martha retorted, invigorated by the exchange. But so can arrogance. Let us see which one of us can walk away with the better deal, your way or mine. Emma's thoughtful silence spoke volumes, and in that moment, Martha felt more grounded than ever. Beyond proving a point to Emma, she understood that the real battle lay within her. She was no longer battling the doubts of the past. She was honing a sharper vision for her future. They resumed the tour, moving through spaces filled with light, each room resonating with stories. Martha revealed the meticulous details she had crafted in preparation for the home's presentation, the art of letting go, the investment in her own empowerment manifesting in the delicate arrangements of furniture and art. With every turn, she felt an unshakable confidence flowing through her, a stark contrast to the uncertainty she had faced before. She was no longer merely a seller. She was a storyteller, a curator of her own life, a champion of her own endeavors. As they stepped back outside, the sun dipped lower in the sky, igniting the world around them with shades of warmth. It was metaphorical, a reflection of Martha's own burning spirit of change, a sunset arching toward a new dawn. She glanced at Emma, who stood silently observing. What if this house becomes a bridge, a place where future owners will craft their stories, just as I have? Emma's sharp demeanor flickered again with a hint of curiosity. Now you might be onto something. Martha's heart raced. Was that an invitation to deeper collaboration? To combine their efforts and ambitions? Or was it merely a fleeting moment of chance? With their relationship uncharted, uncertainty reiterated itself, dividing their paths. The potential for both collaboration and conflict hung before them, brewing into something greater yet unknown. Martha nodded slowly, pondering future conversations yet to unfold. You understand this is about more than just property, right? That depends, Emma replied, her tone balancing between inquiry and skepticism, her facade slowly cracking as intrigue seeped through. Martha was ready to delve deeper. Because if we're going to face this market together, we need to confront real challenges and our perspectives. As they stepped back inside, two women standing at crossroads, they were both left questioning what it meant to redefine their roles not only within the business but also within their lives. As they transitioned back into the house, Martha sensed an invisible boundary separating her from Emma. The silence between them was palpable, charged with unspoken possibilities. As they moved through the living room, Martha demonstrated the meticulous details of her curated space, her voice resonating with renewed conviction. Crisp, deliberate words flowed from her as she highlighted elements of the house that mirrored her journey. This fireplace, she began, pointing to its warm, inviting presence, served as the backdrop to countless family gatherings. It holds laughter, tears, and unspoken stories. Each mark on the mantel speaks of moments that shaped me. Emma listened intently, her skepticism fading even if just slightly. Still, she measured her response with precision. That's a beautiful sentiment, but buyers are often more interested in the house's aesthetics and market value. Perhaps, Martha countered, but what if they're also seeking a connection? A home isn't just shelter. It's the narrative woven into its walls. Martha's words sparked a flicker of reflection within her. The sensation was exhilarating. Could words hold enough weight to spark a change not only in her approach but also in Emma's perspective? This thought fueled her desire to test her limits, pushing her into unfamiliar territory. With determination stitching itself through her thoughts, she realized her objective was changing. She was not merely selling a house. She was redefining how property was sold in a world inundated with transactional relationships. It was about authenticity, storytelling, and vulnerability, roads previously unexplored. People buy into the stories, Martha continued, steadying her breath when she noticed Emma's intrigue morph into contemplation. Imagine walking into a space that feels alive, one shaped by experiences. Isn't it worth something beyond just numbers? The subtle shift in Emma's expression ignited a fire within Martha. She was beginning to see glimmers of partnership in a previously competitive dynamic. This change was as daunting as it was exhilarating. What if collaborating with Emma not only altered the fate of this listing, but also redefined their professional identities? Let us create a presentation focusing on the human experience of this home, Emma proposed cautiously, the edge of skepticism still present, but the possibility of collaboration crackling like static in the air. Yes, the word slipped out of Martha's mouth before she could filter it. A multimedia showcase photos, videos, stories told from the perspective of everyone who has lived here. Let us celebrate the connections this house has fostered. What about the market analysis? Emma queried, her brow furrowing in disbelief. That still matters, Martha. Of course, but we've already established that the emotional pull will differentiate us. If we can combine metrics with narrative, that'll make us formidable. Martha could feel her pulse quickening, a blend of fear and exhilaration chasing through her veins. A brief silence enveloped them, the air thickening with tentative possibilities. All right, let us give this a shot, Emma acquiesced, a hint of uncertainty still tugging at her. But you're leading this. I want to see if you walk the walk. The pressure mounted in Martha's chest, and she nodded but chose to mask her apprehension with a confident smile. This was not simply a matter of proving Emma wrong. It was about elevating her professional identity. Each challenge could either propel her forward or leave her vulnerable to the judgment she once feared. As they began brainstorming ideas, an unexpected surge of excitement coursed through Martha. She felt balanced on the tightrope of change, every step requiring focus and intent. Yet beneath this exhilaration, shadows loomed. What if Emma's doubts resurfaced? Could Martha maintain this newfound autonomy even in collaboration? Just as the ideas began to cement, Emma paused, her gaze unwavering. Trust is crucial, Martha. Can we truly build it together? Martha opened her mouth to reassure her when she paused, contemplating the implications of Emma's statement. Trust is not merely given. It is earned through transparency and vulnerability. Was she ready for that? I'm willing to try, Martha said, meaning every word. Silence hung again, heavy with uncertainty as they navigated the uncharted waters of their evolving relationship. As Martha began to sketch the outlines of stories waiting to be told, a thought surfaced with undeniable urgency. Her battle had only just begun, both internally and externally. Just how much of her own story was she prepared to reveal? And would it be enough to conquer the looming uncertainties? The future held profound questions that whispered for answers. Would it be possible for them to redefine not only the home but their very selves in the process? The next step beckoned a leap toward the unknown. Martha sat at her kitchen table, a blank whiteboard in front of her, its sterile surface stark against the warmth of the room. Ideas swirled in her mind, yet articulating them felt like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. How would she merge personal narrative with market analysis? The juxtaposition seemed daunting, yet she understood it was where her new professional journey began. She lifted a marker, its cap a reminder of the commitment to this unexplored path. The scent of the ink filled her senses as she wrote connect, underlined it, then quickly followed with engage. Each word pulled at her resolve, compelling her to integrate her intention into an actionable plan. This was not just about selling a property. This was about weaving a tapestry that would resonate. It was about transforming her and Emma's shaky alliance into a powerful collaboration, one that could change their industry's landscape. Martha halted, the marker hovering in the air. Trust. It was not just a word. It was a foundation she needed to build, not just to convince Emma, but to convince herself she was worthy of this challenge. Lifting the pen, she began sketching out a timeline for their project, breathing life into the blank spaces that previously felt suffocating. With every tick of the clock, a wave of uncertainty threatened to recapture her. Would Emma fully commit? Would her new perspective withstand scrutiny? Questions loomed like a shadow. Martha took a deep breath, refocusing on her vision. If she could demonstrate how each corner of the house carried stories, emotions, experiences, then perhaps they could reshape Emma's values alongside the market's. The idea sparked inspiration. What if they allowed past residents to share their memories in a series of online videos? For every mark on the mantle there could be a face. For every echoed laugh, a voice recounting what the house meant to them. This was more than a strategy, it was an invitation to emotional engagement. The following morning found Martha in the attic, dust motes swirling in beams of sunlight as she sifted through boxes of memories, starting to uncover forgotten treasures. As she opened each box, a wave of nostalgia washed over her. A collection of children's drawings pinned to a wall, an old piano with a single key sticking, remnants of birthday balloons, and faded photographs revealed the life that once thrived here. She took a photograph of the piano, the dim light catching its keys, and sent it to Emma, suggesting they might include these elements in their marketing. Emma's reply was instantaneous. "Love it. But does this really make sense for the listing?" A sharp pinch of doubt twisted in Martha's stomach. Yes, it made perfect sense to her, but would it resonate with buyers? She took a moment to breathe, pause. Martha realized that answering Emma required not just data, but conviction in the truth of her vision. Drawing on her years of experience, she formulated a response, this time not with defensiveness, but with the sincere intention to build understanding. It's about creating an emotional landscape for potential buyers, making them see the past, feel the present. We need to let them experience the essence of home. Martha pressed send, her heart racing with the possibility of rejection intertwined with hope. As days turned into a week of brainstorming sessions, roles began to blur. Beneath the surface, a budding camaraderie developed. Martha watched closely as Emma's demeanor began to shift, her skepticism giving way to intrigue and respect as ideas took shape. They were cultivating an atmosphere ripe for collaboration, even if neither fully acknowledged it. Still, the specter of doubt lingered. What if Emma reverted to the rigid transactional mindset when the time came to present? What if her faith in the process crumbled before pivotal decisions? Each contemplation sent shivers down Martha's spine. Yet she also felt a growing resolve. On a bright Saturday morning, as they gathered to review their plan's progress, Martha reminded herself to embrace vulnerability. She had to lean into this new identity, shed the old self that hesitated under the weight of judgment. It was time to confront the risks directly, not just in principle but in practice. "Emma, can we really trust this process?" Martha asked gently, her voice shaky but determined. "We need each other to navigate these waters. Let us be transparent, fully inclusive of our doubts and fears." Emma met her gaze, the air thickening as they both grappled with the gravity of her request. The moment stretched longer than expected, and with it came a pivotal realization. Genuine transformation necessitated that they dismantle their walls together, brick by brick. Martha felt the weight of anticipation, the universe balancing on a knife edge. "Are we ready to take this leap?" Something shifted in Emma's expression, a blend of determination and recognition flickering behind her eyes. Martha knew their journey was far from over. The true test of their partnership awaited, the critical moment revealing whether trust could truly be born from vulnerability. The stakes were high, both in the professional realm and within the delicate fabric of their developing friendship. And as they prepared to plunge deeper into their ambitious project, both women stood at the threshold of transformation, each realizing that the next steps demanded equal parts courage and sincerity. The next demonstration of trust loomed, a presentation to potential buyers that could either solidify their newfound alliance or shatter it completely. Would they rise together or falter apart? The morning sun poured through the kitchen window as Martha reviewed her notes, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Today was the day they would present their vision to the potential buyers, a pivotal moment that could define their partnership and career trajectories. Her stomach churned with a cocktail of anticipation and anxiety. She replayed their conversations over the past week in her mind, each brainstorming session, a careful dance of ideas, apprehensions, and gradual alignment. The emotional elements they planned to weave into their marketing strategy began to crystallize. Hints of vulnerability were revealing themselves as strengths. Yet, the fear of falling short lingered like an unwelcome shadow. Just as she tucked her notes away, Emma walked in, her face flushed but determined. "Ready?" she asked, her voice steadier than Martha felt. Martha nodded, but internally she battled skepticism. What if Emma reverted to her old ways of viewing real estate purely as transactions? The slide from collaboration to competition felt perilously thin. "Remember, it's about the people, not just the property," Martha rehearsed, gripping her notes tightly. "If we showcase the stories behind the home, we'll create an unforgettable experience." Emma raised an eyebrow, skepticism softening into curiosity. "You really believe that?" Martha hesitated. "I do. But it's not just belief. It has to resonate with the buyers, and for that we'll need to make sure our presentation captures that essence. It's more compelling when they see themselves there, living those stories. Emma's expression shifted, a resolution forming. All right, let us put emotion front and center. The two women loaded their presentation materials into the car, the brisk air whisking away some of Martha's jitters. The drive to the location felt longer than usual, every traffic light stretching the anticipation. With each turn, two mounting pressures brewed within her. The opportunity to prove herself and the risk involved in being vulnerable in front of potential buyers. When they arrived, they were greeted by a gathering crowd, families chatting in front of the distinguished facade. The house loomed, a silent sentinel filled with stories waiting to be told. Martha took a deep breath, her resolve firming as she locked eyes with Emma. They had crafted a narrative that celebrated the legacy of the home, and now it was time to reveal as they stood before the eager group. Martha felt the familiar tug of doubt, an impulse to retreat into her shell. But looking at Emma, who gave her an encouraging nod, she found the impetus to step forward. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'd like to share the heart of this home and what it truly means to live here. Martha began speaking, presenting visuals of the piano, the drawings, and the faded photographs, her voice gaining momentum as she narrated stories of laughter, love, and memories that defined the space. She could see intrigue sparkling in the buyer's eyes, and her heart raced with every positive reaction. But halfway through, she noticed Emma hesitating, her eyes darting, unsure of how to engage with the crowd. An instinctual wave of protective impulse surged through Martha. She could almost hear their previous conversations echoing in her mind, a reminder of their struggles over trusting the process. Together we believe every home is more than walls and a roof. Martha shifted her gaze to Emma, inviting her to join in. Emma, would you like to share some of your thoughts? Emma blinked, and a flicker of vulnerability crossed her face. Swallowing hard, she stepped forward. I wasn't sure this approach would work, but Martha has opened my eyes to the emotional connections these homes hold. Each corner it's alive with the lives of those who called it home. Martha felt a surge of gratitude swell in her chest as she watched her partner step fully into the role. This was a moment of trust, a collective risk they were undertaking together. As the presentation unfolded, murmurs of appreciation rippled through the crowd. Yet, beneath the applause lay an unsettling realization. Vulnerability to her was still a risk. A gamble could leave them exposed if the buyers failed to see their vision. Overwhelmed by their success, the chaotic cocktail of emotions began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of clarity. They had brought their authentic selves to the sale, no longer any mask of calculated professionalism without soul. But just as Martha felt a flicker of certainty, a voice from the crowd pierced through the moment. This all sounds lovely, but will these stories translate into value? I came here for the numbers. Dread settled in her stomach like a stone. Would the tide of doubt roll back in, tearing apart the vulnerabilities they had just begun weaving? The question hung in the air, heavy, urging her to immediately address the tension brewing between sentiment and practicality. Would they be able to meet this challenge head-on, or would their aspirations crumble under the weight of skepticism? The stakes had never been higher, and the answer might define not just the project's success, but the very essence of their partnership. Martha's pulse quickened as she processed the question. The atmosphere shifted, the weight of expectation suddenly palpable. Buyers had approached her, but the stakes weren't about old bricks and wood anymore. Now it felt deeply personal. The challenge struck at the core of her newly embraced philosophy, blending the emotional with the numerical to forge a comprehensive narrative. Each keen gaze in the crowd reminded her of their investment, not just in dollars, but their dreams and lives. Yet part of her recoiled at the moment. Value, she echoed, grappling with the very crux of the objection. It was an unfathomable chasm, one that could swallow her hard work whole. Brian, the most vocal questioner, raised his eyebrow, expectant. He continued, a story is nice and all, but we're looking to purchase a house, right? What can you tell us about the investment? In that instant, Martha felt the tug of competing instincts. She could either cling to the emotional narrative or pivot with hard data. Her instincts urged her back towards the narrative, but fear nudged her towards cold, hard facts. Brian, that's a fair point, she acknowledged, her own voice steady. Yet, consider this. A home isn't just a financial asset, it's the foundation of lives. The stories we've shared, these connections can't be quantified in mere dollars, but resonate deeply with what makes a house a home. The words flowed with intention, but a nagging uncertainty crept in. Was she too far from the numbers? Could she afford to remain vulnerable while also answering their needs? Emma stepped closer, her face a blend of concern and steely determination. All homes have potential value, she added, but the ones that spark memories and connections tend to appreciate more. These stories aren't just touching, they build a desire, create urgency, and encourage buyers to invest more fully. The crowd murmured, but Martha sensed the looming disconnect remained. A ripple of anxiety swept through her. Could Emma's logic quell the storm threatening their vision? Martha's gaze shifted towards the house, imagining the lives lived within, laughter ringing down the halls, children's footsteps on the stairs. You see, this isn't just a transaction, she urged, the flicker of conviction growing. This is a legacy of shared experiences, a bridge to new stories this home can harbor. Yet a nagging doubt persisted. Would her conviction be enough? She had witnessed moments of weakness in herself before. This was high stakes with no promise of certainty. Emotion is important, but so is the investment aspect. Brian countered, his tone challenging. How do I know this home is worth what you're asking? The challenge lingered, a question that felt insurmountable. Martha's resolve wavered, her thoughts racing. Somewhere in her struggle for reassurance, she recalled the lessons learned in negotiation class. Buyers wanted to feel confident. Could she manifest that feeling right then? As she began to formulate a response, an idea struck, a compelling synthesis of emotion and numbers. Let us consider recent comps, she suggested, pulling out a folder from her bag. We can look at similar homes in the area, like the one down the block that sold for significantly more, despite having fewer personal touches. Emphasizing stories doesn't reduce value. It can actually enhance it. The buyers leaned in, interest peaked as she spoke. She had grasped a potential lifeline, a bridge between her two worlds, emotion and practicality. She could see the impact was genuine. People shifted their postures, engaged in the prospect with diminished skepticism. But even amid what felt like a turning point, her heart sank with a sense that resolve alone wouldn't guarantee success. Had she crossed a threshold they could not return from? The juxtaposition of feeling genuine confidence while grappling with lingering insecurities was bewildering. Can we ensure our vision merges with projections? She mused internally, eyeing Emma for support. The space between vulnerability and strength remained fraught with ambiguity. The critical balance of this moment hung before her. Was she becoming the leader she aspired to be, or merely a shadow in the spotlight? The audience awaited her next move with bated breath. Suddenly, a voice from deep within her whispered the unmistakable truth that growth was often nestled in discomfort. She took a breath and addressed the crowd. Together, let us build this bridge between heart and home. Who wants to explore the possibilities? As anticipation hung thick in the air, the challenge morphed yet again. Would her synthesis resonate enough to win over those lingering doubts? The crowd's response could shift everything. Emma squeezed Martha's hand, and at that moment, Martha felt a flicker of that earlier doubt dissipate, revealing tenacity. But the lingering question remained: had they truly forged a path to securing this deal? Or was the real test about to unfold? The moment of truth was drawing near, forcing her to confront whether she could wield the risks of her vulnerabilities as a strength, or if it would lead them to a precipice of failure. Martha locked eyes with Brian, who was waiting. The atmosphere shifted again, thick and filled with unspoken tension. This was her moment, and she could either embrace it or let it slip through her fingers once more. Yet the weight of their expectations felt heavier now, underscoring her sense of urgency. They want numbers, she reminded herself, glancing down at the folder. But they also want a reason to care. In a single motion she opened the folder, revealing more than just data. It was a roadmap of potential, a guide to blending emotion with valuation. Here, she pointed decisively, her confidence reigniting. In this neighborhood, homes like this have sold well when owners share their stories. The home down the block, for instance 264 Maple, was listed at a higher price and featured less charm. The owners spoke of long summer nights on the porch. You could feel the love in the walls. Buyers wanted that, and they invested more. Love doesn't pay the mortgage, though. Brian's skepticism pierced the air. Neither does the sterile price tag, Martha shot back, her voice steadier than she felt. That home is valued not just for bricks and mortar, but for the life lived within. Buyers want to feel welcome before they even step through the door. Emma stood resolute beside her, an unwavering pillar. It's about the emotional investment. Think about it like this. Would you be willing to give more for something that resonates in your heart? The acknowledgement of emotional implications hung in the air, almost tangible. While some still hesitated, others sat forward, the spark of curiosity illuminating their faces. Martha felt a swell of pride for Emma, appreciating how their partnership was evolving. As colleagues, they had always understood the market, but here they were starting to discover the true art of their vocation, a balance between insight and emotion. But doubt followed like a shadow. What if their approach was too unorthodox? What if practicality was lost in their emotions? A flicker of fear threatened to ignite again, but she pushed it down. This was not just her chance. It was a shared journey that demanded authenticity. What if we imagine ourselves already living here? She suggested, pressing on, feeling her way through the interaction. Picture that first family dinner in the dining room, or the blissful chaos of a birthday party in the yard. That memory is what makes a house feel like home, and that value transcends numbers. She paused, feeling her pulse quicken. It was a calculated gamble. Was she risking it all for the sake of a story? But then again, wasn't that the essence of what she fought for? Gradually the crowd shifted again, whispers of agreement filling the air. Brian remained vigilant, but even he softened ever so slightly. Let us look at the potential, Emma added, beginning to play her part. What could make this house a thriving home? Connecting families, living memories, the essence of community. Martha was buoyed by this emerging synergy. Every exchange, every opinion shared refined her approach, compelling her to forge ahead. She realized that this wasn't just about selling houses. It was about curating experiences and enabling dreams. The conversation opened up further, buyers pitching in questions about neighborhood schools, while someone else inquired about local parks. The initial skepticism was evolving into an animated discussion and acknowledgement of their intertwined fates centered around this property. Just as Martha began to feel the tide turning, she glanced at the clock and felt a jolt. The presentation was nearing its end. Let us close this gap, she declared, her voice stronger, more assured. Every house tells a story, but it's your story that will breathe life into these walls. The collective energy in the room crystallized, each person hanging on her words. With one final push, she invited them to experience the house itself, to walk through each room, to feel, to let their imaginations unfold into realities. As they stood to venture out, Martha realized this was not solely about the home anymore. It was about her evolution as a professional. She could wield her own vulnerabilities with confidence, turning the uncertainties that threatened to erode her control into powerful assets. Yet, even as she stepped to the doorway, a sharp unease resurfaced. What if it wasn't enough to change minds? Would they still want to invest once they left the embrace of the stories she painted? Martha halted, heart racing as the doubts clung resolutely. Had she indeed transitioned into the leader she aspired to be? Or would this venture crumble in the very same discomfort that fueled her growth? The crisp air brushed against her skin as a thought crystallized. The hardest part of transformation lay not simply in crafting narratives, but in trusting the authenticity of her voice. With that clarity, she followed her audience to the doorstep of potential, unsure yet resolute. What awaited just beyond could ignite the spark of her professional rebirth or plunge her into the depths of her insecurities. The moment of truth felt imminent. Martha stepped into the afternoon sun, her heart drumming with adrenaline. Today had become more than just an open house. It had morphed into a pivotal confrontation between her past self and the woman she was becoming. Every hesitation she had once felt now mingled with a newfound confidence, a profound transformation threading through her core like a lifeline. She moved through the threshold, inviting prospective buyers, their eyes flickering with intrigue. This was her arena now. The decisions made here would determine not merely the sale of a house, but the reclamation of her identity and legacy. Earlier, she had worked tirelessly to weave a compelling narrative around the property, a home that told stories of love, laughter, and resilience. And as the crowd dispersed through the living room, she seized her opportunity with clarity. This isn't just a property, Martha began, her voice steady and commanding attention. This is a space enriched by memories. Lives were lived here, and its walls hold echoes of joy and connection. She moved fluidly, weaving the threads of her personal journey into her pitch, as though painting a vibrant mural that showcased both emotion and potential. As she spoke, she saw nods of understanding. The shift from skepticism to engagement stirred the room. She could feel her message resonating. But it holds more than just memories, Martha continued, her conviction soaring. It represents untapped potential, a canvas for your own stories, a foundation for your future. The buyers leaned in, their eyes bright with possibility. Brian, who had once challenged her with skepticism, now listened attentively, intrigue shadowing his expression. So how do we maximize this potential? He finally asked, the cautious tone softening slightly. Martha's pulse quickened. This was where her confidence would be both tested and affirmed. Let us talk numbers, she asserted, swiftly producing a detailed report. The historical appreciation of homes in this area indicates strong market growth. And homes with rich narratives like this one do even better. The emotional connection we create here is complementary to market trends. Emma, standing nearby, exchanged glances with Martha, recognition sparking in their shared understanding. Exactly, she added, stepping forward. Houses sell more than just brick and mortar. They're emotional investments, places where families build dreams. Their synergy surged. This partnership was more robust than either had imagined. Together, they countered Brian's earlier reticence with sheer conviction. As questions began to flow, each answer embedded authenticity, refuting the idea that numbers alone dictated value. Martha galvanized their sales pitch with the essence of the home, balancing emotional resonance with market legitimacy. As the tour concluded, prospective buyers exchanged enthusiastic glances, an undercurrent of excitement circulating through the crowd. Martha felt exhilarated, her nerves transforming into solid confidence, a testament to her growth. The moment when a couple approached her, their expressions lit with hope, was profound. We feel an attachment to this home already, the woman said softly. Seems to promise so much. Martha's heart swelled. This was not mere business. They were inspiring connection. Days later, the offer arrived. The deal exceeded their initial expectations, reflecting the true harmony of emotional allure and fiscal potential. In the days following, Martha had accomplished not just selling the house. She had reclaimed her narrative and forged a solid reputation in her profession. Recognition followed suit. Not only did Martha thrive in her role, but she was also offered a mentorship opportunity, teaching others to blend emotion and strategy within the real estate world. Martha transformed her fear into a force that propelled her forward. No longer silenced by insecurities or diminished by expectations, she stood proud in her achievements. In her heart, she knew this growth was not the end but a thrilling beginning. She would continue to conquer challenges, cultivate connections, and inspire others to embrace their own power. As she looked at Emma, the subtle shift in their dynamic felt like turning a page towards mutual respect and collaboration. This journey had sparked something profound within both of them, a commitment to build not only successful careers but meaningful legacies. With a gentle smile exchanged between them, she stepped into the next chapter with boldness, ready to empower others and embrace the future with absolute confidence. Now that you've witnessed Martha's incredible transformation, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. We want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters, and only true fans of personal overcoming stories will understand the importance of acting now.